competition.
And now we move to the diving well and the men's platform competition. Earlier in this meet, Tyler Henschel of Texas A&M won the 3-meter, and it was Juan Hernandez of LSU who won the 1-meter. And starting it off will be Sebastian Masterton. Welcome in our diving analyst, Cynthia Potter, U.S. Olympian, and Seb Masterton of Kentucky, now a junior. 4th in this event on platform last year, 2nd 2 years ago.
Okay, so each of these guys are going to do 6 dives. They'll cover all the groups: forward, backward, reverse, inward, twisting, and arm stand. So they'll cover every group that is possible to do off of the platform. And Seb Masterton starts off with his inward group. And remember, the judges score from 0 to 10 in half-point increments.
7 judges, top 2 and bottom 2 scores are dropped. The other 3 added together and multiplied by the degree of difficulty is 60.8 for Masterton. Now Kevin Frabel, sophomore from Kentucky.
The divers can go off the lower platforms or the top platform, which is the 10-meter, and it's allowed in NCAA collegiate diving because all schools do not have 10-meter platforms. Some schools don't have any platforms. Kentucky does have a 10-meter.
63.75 for Frabel. And now Chase Lane, his Wildcat teammate, a freshman at Kentucky.
Amazing, 3 Wildcats in this final. This 8-man final has 3 Kentucky Wildcats. A freshman, a junior, and a sophomore. Chase Lane, who just went off the 10-meter and did a beautiful forward 3.5, is a freshman from Tallahassee, Florida.
So Masterton, Frabel, and Lane off in Kentucky, and now we'll have Scott Lazaroff from Auburn, likewise going off the 10-meter platform. Lazaroff, 3rd at SEC's a couple of years ago, 2nd last year.
Lazaroff seems to always be able to find vertical. And of course, that's one of the goals of diving, is to jump as high as you can, whether you're on the springboard or the platform, do the gymnastics in the air, and then find vertical without making a lot of splash. And as he goes in the water, he has just a little splash, but a really nice vertical entry.
Up next, the defending champion in this event, Juan Hernandez, now a sophomore at LSU, took the title last year, setting the meet record as a freshman. Won the 1-meter earlier in this meet.
And he holds the record in the 1-meter. He set it here. He also holds the record for this event, along with Tyler Henschel, who tied Juan Hernandez's record in the preliminaries. Tyler's coming up in a couple of divers. He was the top qualifier. But here goes Juan Hernandez, the defending champion, and starting out with a fantastic dive with a 9 in there. Remember, the top score is a 10.
He cards an 80. And that is by far the best among the 5 divers who have gone. And now Matthew Phillip, a junior at LSU, off the 10-meter platform. He was 6th at SEC's 2 years ago, 5th last year.
He's practicing running back to get where he's going to start, to do the run out to the end of the platform, vault up off of the solid surface, and then do 3.5 somersaults. You know, it's a very solid dive, which I think is one of Matt's fortes, is again being very consistent. You see how he grabs his hands going in the water? That contributes to a lack of splash. If you flatten your palms and swim your body through that hole that you make with your hands. It sounds wacky, but it works.
And now Colin Zing, transfer from Ohio State, where he won the NCAA platform title 2 years ago.
He starts out with this arm stand. Every man must perform an arm stand. Now, they don't all have to start out going backwards like he's doing. They can go forwards, but this is a back arm stand with somersaults and twists. This requires so much gymnastic ability to get up into the arm stand and hold a steady balance and then push off of your hands. It takes so much strength. You see his feet come apart a little bit, and that happens when you've got twisting dives a lot of times. There's so much torque in a twisting dive.
Degree of difficulty on that one, 3.6. So he had 1.9, 1.8.5, and then 8s and 7s, but multiplied by the degree of difficulty. That's the best dive so far in round 1, 86.4. Now Tyler Henschel, the last to go, his first of 6 dives.
And he was the top qualifier, tied the SEC record that Juan Hernandez had in the preliminaries. And he could eclipse that record tonight. He has been diving so beautifully. He won the 3-meter competition here. He was 5th on the 1-meter. He is an amazing gymnast, and he's a performer, a competitor. He's quick. He's got everything you need to be a champion on the springboard and the platform.
And he's also got 2 10s, the rest 9.5s, 91.2 for Tyler Henschel, looking for an SEC title here in his final time diving in his home pool. Second dive for Sebastian Masterton of Kentucky.
Does a forward 4.5, the most difficult forward spinning dive that can be done. It's 4.5 somersaults. Now they're about 3 stories off the surface of the water, and he's got to jump and spin around 4.5 times and then try and find where to unfold to go in the water vertically. That's a lot to say, but it's even more to do.
127.4 after 2 dives for Masterton. Kevin Frabel, his Kentucky teammate, is next. This will be off the 7-meter platform. He went off the 5-meter his first time.
And that's allowed to dive off the 7-meter actually, because it's 3.5 somersaults. Remember, off the 10-meter, we just saw 4.5, and now we're seeing 3.5s off a lower platform. It's allowed in NCAA collegiate diving. In the Olympic Games, you won't see anybody going off a lower platform.
57.4 in the second dive for Frabel. Total of 121.15. And now Chase Lane, the 3rd straight Kentucky Wildcat to go, 3-time Florida High School 1-meter champion from Tallahassee.
Oh, he had such a beautiful jump off the platform. This is such a tough dive. And no matter how you look at it, even though they're doing harder dives than 3.4 degree of difficulty, this reverse spinning dive just takes so much poise, patience, strength, timing. So tough to find vertical on this one.
And now Scott Lazaroff had just a 67.5 on his first dive.
You see, Scott's wrists are taped, and platform diving can be very tough on the wrist, not just in these arm stands, but also hitting the water with palms flat. It puts some pressure on your wrist every time you go in the water. And I have to explain what that ring up there is, because you see that a lot of times in the shot before they go off the platform. That is a spotting belt that you can twist in, and the coach can hold you up over the water with that belt around a diver's waist. It is a great training tool.
There it is.
There's the twisting belt. There's a spinning belt also, a little bit different from that one, but it looks very similar.
And as a coach, how often do you use that, Cynthia?
Oh, maybe daily. I mean, if you were Dick Kimball at the University of Michigan, every single day for every single diver.
Juan Hernandez, sophomore at LSU, Again, he's the defending platform champion.
Now you want to talk quick? This guy has gymnastic ability. I think he came out of the womb that way, but he is something else. You know, he's the defending champion, and he won the 1 meter in a record, but he could clean this dive up just a little bit, keep his feet together, going maybe a little more vertically without quite so much splash. Got the makings of a fabulous dive, but as it is, pretty darn good.
77.7. Hernandez did the same dive as Masterton to start this round. We'll see that dive again later from Tyler Henschel in round number 4. There's Matthew Phillip, Hernandez teammate at LSU. Phillip is a junior.
Oh, he goes right past vertical on a back 2.5 somersault. If you don't see where you're going, use your visual references. Sometimes you spot the platform, sometimes you spot the water to know where to unfold out of a dive. And look, he unfolds and goes over with that big splash. So the judges see that, and that's the last thing they see.
Yeah, just a 39. And every other dive he's going to do is off the 10-meter platform, that off the 5. Colin Zeng of Tennessee, 86.4. The second best dive in the first round. Here's dive number 2.
It's sort of hard to tell the perspective on where that spotting belt, that twisting belt is, but it's not in their way. It's off to the side. Sometimes you can't really see that depth perception as they're up there getting ready to go. It looks like they might hit that ring, but they will not. It is not anywhere near them when they take off.
69.3 in the second dive for Zeng. 155.7. He's in third right now. Final dive of the second round. It's Tyler Henschel, who had a 10 from a couple of judges in his first dive. Again, diving for the final time here in his home pool, the senior for Texas A&M.
I think he is the class of the field right now, and he had some openings because Colin Zinn and Juan Hernandez stumbled a little bit in round 2. Of course, there's 6 rounds, but he is so solid, and I think he has a lot of confidence. He's diving at home. He's a senior, and he loves diving with the coach here, Jay LaRue. They are a great team.
Had the second best dive in the second round after the one by Lazaroff. And so his total 169.6, and he is still atop the leaderboard as Masterton begins the third round.
Oh, what a nice unfold out of this reverse 2.5 to spot the water in front of him and then look in back of him to see exactly where he's going to go in and how he's going to line up the dive for that vertical entry. I felt this was a beautiful come out of the reverse tuck position.
67.2. That's his best dive so far. And now Kevin Frabel.
Kevin missing this dive pretty badly off the 5 meter. Now he's capable of doing a lot harder dives off of the 10 meter possibly, but this dive just is not in control when he goes in the water, and you see he went way past vertical. That would be considered a pretty big miss for Kevin.
And now Chase Lane, freshman for Kentucky. Lawton Childs High School in Tallahassee helped them to the state title a couple of years ago. Talk about the comparisons with gymnastics. Lane, a former competitive gymnast.
You know, and gymnastics will serve a platform diver very well. It's much like the Florex, or even a little bit like vaulting, or, you know, they have a spring floor when they do their exercise, their free X, but you vault up off the platform to get the height, to make these difficult dives, to complete the somersaults.
79.2 is total 212.4 through 3 dives and 3 to go. Scott Lazaroff Had the best dive of the second round, carding an 81, just a 67.5 in round number 1. Been in the top 3 twice at SECs, third and then second last year.
Oh, I just really think he knows where vertical is. And that sometimes is something that you come to college already knowing how to do. If you've learned how to spot, to use your visual references before you get to college diving, you make it a lot easier on the coach in college.
And Lazarov not making it easy on himself with that first dive. It was just a 67.5, but after that an 81 and now an 84.15.
Really getting better in every round.
Getting back into it. Juan Hernandez, the defending platform champion. His first dive in 80, the second is 77.7.
Now he was a little more than 10 points, about 12 points behind Tyler Henschel, the leader, going into the third, which is halfway through the competition. And he's so strong and he's so gymnastic, but he's not going in the water as vertically and as clean without the big splash. He might have received some 10s if he hadn't splashed so much on that dive.
He did get 1.9, couple of 8.5s, 83.3. And now Matthew Phillip, the Louisiana State junior, 8th through 2 rounds. Had a nice first dive, but failed on his second. Good recovery.
Yeah, now that's a pretty entry. That was clean. It was vertical. It's such good spotting of the water. There he looks at it, and then he looks back. I love the way you could see him looking at the water in front of him before he unfolded, and then looked at the water behind him to make sure he knew where to park that vehicle.
Look at all the 9s straight across for Matthew Phillip.
And that's where the degree of difficulty makes a difference. That was below 3.0. So even though he got 9s, he didn't score 80 points on the dive. This is a 3.2 degree of difficulty dive. Now, remember, there's 7 judges. You mark out the 2 highest and the 2 lowest. You add the middle 3 scores together and multiply times the degree of difficulty. So it does make a huge difference if you can do the high degree of difficulty dives proficiently. And this is nice that, again, the entry just a little bit messy.
76.8. He was third heading into that third dive, and now the leader Tyler Henschel was ahead of Juan Hernandez by about 12 points heading into this third dive, and Hernandez had an 83.3.
Tyler Henschel has so much confidence right now. It's just, he hit the platform. He hit the platform just as I said. Oh, no, he's okay. He's okay.
Oh my goodness.
Watch what happens when he takes off right straight up over the platform. And he hit it with his toes. Now, it's not life-threatening. Of course, the way you hit the water or where you hit the water on your body it could even create a concussion, but not in this case. So it's not life-threatening, but it was too close to the platform, and he hit his toes on the platform, and that's why he freaked out in the middle of the dive.
Quickly said that he was okay. Trying it again.
Wow, that is such a shame for the senior, the only senior in the competition.
And he dives for Texas A&M. So here in his home pool with a chance to win an SEC title.
Yes.
Struggled on his third dive.
Now remember, he's already won one in the 3-meter, but he was so far ahead of everybody after the preliminaries. Came down to the last round of the prelims, he didn't even have to do his last dive. That's how good he was in the preliminaries. And to have something like this happen is just so unfortunate, and it can shake you to your core.
Taking a long time to get the score reported.
I think some of the judges are trying to figure out if he completed the dive or not. Do they want to give him a 1 or do they want to give him a 0? They have the prerogative.
Head coach Jay LaRue looking on in his 9th year with Texas A&M.
And Jay and I had a chat after Tyler won the 3-meter and when he was doing so well in the preliminaries of this event. And he said, you know, he's got confidence, he's a senior, he really knows what he's doing, he's quick, he's got all this gymnastic ability, and he's pretty to watch also. He's artistic.
Quickly back to work, focusing. He has 3 dives left, and the next one is a 3.7 degree of difficulty. Same dive that we saw Masterton and Hernandez do earlier. Just a 6.8. 4 judges give him 1s, 3 others give him 0s.
Actually, 2 gave him 0s, 1 gave him a half of a point. So his total on that dive, 6.80 points. Now, that's better than a failed dive. That's better than all 0s.
It
And
drops
he's-
him into 7.
But he still has half of the contest left. And actually, no 0s. He got a half point from 3 judges, and 4 judges gave him a 1.
We've updated the scoring. Yes, 4 1s and 3 halves. So an 8.5. At
8.5.
8.5 instead of the 6.8 that had been reported before. So you're still in 7th place after 3 dives. Here's Seth Masterton.
Deb Masterson doing a back 3.5 somersault. Now, he's had a lot of injuries, and he's got what you call turf toe right now. And that happens more often off the springboard, which is a very rough surface. But it's hard to push off of your toes and your feet to do these difficult dives. The last thing that you want to do is extend off of your toes into these tuck positions or pike positions as it is. Pretty good back 3.5 somersault.
Here's Frabel in 8th through 3 dives, going off the 5-meter again where he struggled a couple of dives ago.
Oh, just really a bit deficient on that back, reverse 3.5 off the 5-meter. You're seeing most of the dives off the 10-meter, twice the height of the 5-meter.
And we've seen most of the struggles off the lower platforms.
Yes, we have. And you know what that indicates is that there might not really be an accomplished or experienced platform diver yet.
Here's Chase Lane, also from Kentucky. He's a freshman.
Chase choosing to do his arm stand in round 4. It's an arm stand back 3 somersaults, triple, into a tuck position. And when you push off the tower, you really have to use your triceps and you have to extend off of your hands into that tuck position to rotate 3 times around. A lot of dive.
62.7 in dive number 4 for Chase Lane. Here's Scott Lazaroff of Auburn in 2nd place after Tyler Henschel's struggles. 2nd by about 9 points.
Oh, he's just vertical on everything he does. Sometimes I say, you know, I wish he would point his toes a little bit more. But the dives are really good, and his toes are pointed. They're just not needle toes like some ballet-type dancer toes we've seen. But what a nice dive. Scott Lazaroff has just gotten better and better every year. Jeff Schaefer in his, I think his 19th year at Auburn, and Scott Lazaroff make a great duo.
Lazaroff was 2nd last year to this man, Juan Hernandez. Hernandez the leader through 3 dives. 3 dives to go.
Well, that was going to to be a tough dive to stop the rotations on from the very beginning because he sat back a little bit too far away from the platform there, and it's what you call swinging. And you see he swings past vertical a little bit, and that's what happens when you don't jump up a little bit straighter than Juan Hernandez had.
Degree of difficulty on that was 3.6, hence the score of 86.4. Matthew
Keep
Phillip.
him in first.
Keep him in first. Matthew
Yep.
Phillip is a junior from LSU. His fourth dive in sixth after 3.
Oh, that's a pretty entry. Nice stretch. Again, a low degree of difficulty dive. We're seeing a lot of 3.0 and above dives. We just saw one from Juan Hernandez that was 3.6. So even though it's proficient and it's nice, it scores above 7s, it's still not going to help him a whole lot to get into one of the top 3 spots.
Colin Zing is next, NCAA champion while diving for Ohio State a couple of years ago. Was third at NCAAs on platform last year. Now in his first year at Tennessee.
Oh, he almost had that dive straight up and down vertically. He struggled just a little bit to get to the 3.5 somersaults. And he hadn't been feeling great. He's had this sinus infection, and he told me he felt a little cloudy. He said, I'm taking some medication, and I'm not quite me.
66.3 for Colin Zing. Now Tyler Henschel, who failed on his last dive, just an 8.5. How do you recover from that, Cynthia?
Well, you put it on the back burner. You completely let it go.
His most difficult dive, 3.7 degree of difficulty.
You know, that was a terrific comeback. Amazing. A forward 4.5 somersault after almost failing his round 3 dive. He comes back with the hardest dive in the competition, a forward 4.5. And look what he does here, 3.7. Now that's going to yield a whole bunch of points, over 90 points, I would say, because of the degree of difficulty and the proficiency of the dive.
Everything between 8 and 9, and a 92.5 to 70.6 for Tyler Henschel. Trying to get back into things. He has a couple of dives remaining. So through round 4, Hernandez the lead over Lazaroff. Zing is in third, then Lane. Henschel right now in 6th. Hernandez and Lazaroff went 1-2 last year. They're 1-2 now with 2 dives remaining. Juan Hernandez the leader, going through his mental choreography prior to his next dive. He'll be 5th up.
And remember, I said everybody has to do an arm stand. They can choose the dive they want to do. They're trying to do the highest degree of difficulty that they know they can do in practice. You don't want to do a dive in a competition that you need some extra special magic spell to do well. This dive goes past vertical. And again, you know, these divers, Sebastian has been injured almost the entire season. He had a problem with his ankle. He has turf toe. It's so hard to dive platform in a competition like this if you haven't had the practice time up there.
Kevin Frabel missed most of last year with an injury. Ended up being 20th on platform at SECs as a freshman. He is 8th heading into his next to last dive here as a sophomore.
And isn't that always what great athletes who train so hard have to deal with, is nagging injuries? And whether it's at the Winter Olympics that we've been watching, or whether it's the summer games or collegiate athletes like this, you know, it's a long season. And you're doing so many repetitive actions over and over and hitting the water at 35 miles per hour. What a pretty line that was going in the water. Nice and vertical, beautiful dive, low degree of difficulty, very low.
Got a 9.5 among others, and because of that degree of difficulty at 2.4, his dive just a 61.2. And now Chase Lane. Chase Lane, a freshman at Kentucky. 3 Kentucky Wildcats in this platform final.
I'm surprised that he got down vertically so well on that, because he didn't jump very high off the platform. He goes way away from the platform in that direction starting out. And the more you go away, the more you give away height.
After watching Tyler Henschel hit the platform, I'd go away from it too.
Yeah, there is a happy medium in there. I mean, Tyler Henschel only hit his foot, which is great news. It's never fun to hit the platform or the diving board, but fortunately he's safe and he has 2 more dives.
Scott Lazaroff in second place by 27 points, heading into his next to last dive.
He's had 7.5s or above on every single dive he's done. And again, he finds, it's like he has this radar to vertical. I guess if water's involved, it could be called sonar, but it's not underwater yet. And, you know, it's vertical. It could be stretched more. He could stretch his feet and his legs, maybe gain another point. But it's steady.
Steady Scott with a 73.6. And now the leader, Juan Hernandez. Hernandez, 3 dives of 80 plus in this one, looking to defend his SEC platform title. 2 dives remaining for him.
And he has the record along with Tyler Henschel. They tied for the record. Juan got it last year, and Tyler got it in the prelims of this event. But he's not on record pace at the moment. Oh, having a little trouble finding that completely straight up and down line going in the water, but it's probably good enough. He has real high degree of difficulty. And look at how beautiful that pike position is. Such great flexibility, gymnastic ability. He spins fast. He's really quick. He arches his back just a little bit coming out, unfolding out of the dive, and that makes him go past vertical slightly.
Hernandez, 68.25. Lazaroff picked up about 6 points on him that round. Now Matthew Phillip. Phillip in 7th place, heading into his next to last dive. This dive in his next one, his highest degree of difficulty, a 3.2.
Oh, nice entry. Very nice entry. He's in 7th place. He can help himself right here because he should receive 8s and above on this dive. Nice. And so much going on there. Has to generate enough power to make the back 2.5 somersaults. And he puts 1.5 twists in there also. I guess if we were doing half pipe, that would be the McTwist.
The McTwist, okay.
The McTwist.
And now Colin Zing, 29 points behind in 3rd place, heading into his final dive.
Now he can't go ahead of Juan Hernandez because he can't get more than 10s, but if he would receive 8s on this dive, he would go into 2nd place ahead of Scott Lazaroff.
And give himself a chance heading into the final dive. Whoa! Great one for Colin Zing.
Now that was an entry. I don't know how you get better than that going in the water vertically and without a splash. I saw one little flaw. Let's see if you can pick it out, Rich. Well, we missed it because his feet barely came apart. There, right there, his feet had come apart just a little bit. That's the only reason he wouldn't receive all 10s on that.
And the judges have to see that in real time. Does get a 10 from one judge. 388.4. So he is only 7 points back of Juan Hernandez.
Who's going
He
to come
picked
down
up
to the last
21.
dive?
Yes, it is. Picked up 21 points that time. Now Tyler Henschel tried to fight his way back from that failed dive in round 3 at a 92.5 in round 4.
Oh, is he a masterpiece here? A masterpiece. It's almost like Shaun White after falling down on the second run, and he comes back and he does a dive like this. Holy smokes, is this a great back 3.5? I don't know that I would give it a 10, but I'm not sitting where the judges are, and they're really good at what they do. So
What a great analogy to Shaun White. 89.1.
what a dive.
He's 36 points back.
Now this jump is spectacular, and he's looking where he's going at the water before he kicks out. So he has great sense of not only where he is in the air, but using his visual references, looking at the spots that he wants to look at. That was fabulous. It was a great round of diving.
For Tyler Henschel, what might have been, he trails it by 35 points, almost 36 points heading into the final dive. Juan Hernandez with that slim lead of 7.25 over Colin Zing of Tennessee. And Scott Lazaroff in the hunt is Sebastian Masterton in 7th place through 5 dives. His final dive.
Sebastian has done an amazing job because we know that he's had this turf toe. He wants to be a stunt man, and he is headed in the right direction. When you see dives like this is the one I referred to as a possible McTwist. But what a great last round dive. You know, you want to put a great dive last because you can depend on it, and he does that beautifully.
There's a former college gymnast named Christina Baskett, who is one of the best stunt women in Hollywood, and talk about the correlation between gymnastics and diving, and maybe set Masterton on his way as well.
I think he's a stunt man already.
Kevin Frabel, 3.2 degree of difficulty, 8th heading into his final dive.
Oh, he came out just a little prematurely on this inward spinning 3.5. Now, you're standing backwards, but you're spinning forwards. And again, that's one of those dives that when young divers learn some of these inwards right off the bat, they think, oh, I don't want to come too close to the platform, but you don't want to go too far away either. There is always a happy medium, that balance and that timing and rhythm, so critical in diving.
Up next, the Kentucky freshman Chase Lane, third consecutive Wildcat in 5th through 5 dives. What a great learning experience for him.
And scored points on the 1 meter and the 3 meter, was 13th on 1 meter, 16th on 3 meter, and in the finals, the top 8 as a freshman. He is the only freshman in this final. And watch out, because he's only going to get better.
A lot of time to develop for Chase Lane.
Beautiful. Just really pretty lines. A nice toe point as he goes in the water. Didn't have that in the dive so much, but when he got ready to enter the water, he stretched.
73.6 for his final dive. Hugs from his Wildcat teammates. Now Scott Lazaroff in 3rd heading into this, his final dive. He is 22.2 points behind Juan Hernandez. Lazaroff was the runner-up last year to Hernandez.
And Scott Lazaroff is going to do his last dive at 3.3 degree of difficulty. Juan Hernandez follows him with the 3.6 degree of difficulty.
In other words, Lazaroff needs to nail this.
Yes, and Hernandez has the edge, not just because of the degree of difficulty, but he was ahead. I love this dive of Scott Lazaroff's, and I think it is such good strategy to put it last. because nobody else is doing this back 1.5 with 3.5 twist. He is such a good twister. And there he goes in the water, another vertical entry. He didn't miss a dive for less than sevens. An incredible performance.
79.2, so 452.65. Likely not enough. We'll see. Here's Juan Hernandez, the leader by 7 points over Colin Zing, heading into his final dive.
Now this is the super McTwist because he's going to do another twist. We've seen a number of the divers do a back 2.5 with 1.5 twist. He's going to put 2.5 twists in here.
The defending champion with the second highest degree of difficulty in this meet.
Oh, he misses it just slightly. But I don't think that he is going to go behind at this point because of the degree of difficulty, and it's still a very steady dive. He's not missing the dive. He's just doing a couple of little mistakes. And if he's close to 80 points, you still think, okay, well, the degree of difficulty took care of some of the little bit lower scores. Very steady performance, but he's not going to approach his record.
79.2 for Hernandez. Door might be open for Colin Zing, a couple of divers away. In the meantime, Matthew Phillip of LSU. So Hernandez of LSU, the leader right now. Matthew Phillip in 6th with 1 dive remaining.
Judges want to see a steady balance. There's not a time limit. Some coaches and judges will say, well, we like to count to 3 and make sure that we saw the steady balance.
52.8 for Matthew Phillip. Now, here comes the final dive for Colin Zing. 2 years ago when he won the NCAA championship, he had a bloody nose. They had to deal with it. If it kept bleeding, he wouldn't be able to continue to dive. You say he has some sinus issues right now. Thankfully, not a bloody nose.
He's been sick all week. He just hasn't felt good at all. Little upper respiratory sinus problems. And like I said, he told me it was a little cloudy. That's the way he described it. Low degree of difficulty.
He's at 86.5.
No, he won't get it. He has a beautiful jump. He has an incredible pike position, stretched legs, toes, pointed the whole way through. This dive had the makings of 10s, but you see the angle that he goes in the water and the splash. That will keep him from receiving those high scores. He will not go ahead of Juan Hernandez, and I would suspect that he's just behind Scott Lazaroff also. Not steady enough to beat Scott Lazaroff.
He's in 3rd right now. Tyler Henschel of Texas A&M, his final dive ever here in his home pool.
And he cannot go into 1st. Now, he could be 2nd, but he would need more 10s than 9.5s. He did this dive so beautifully in the prelims. Well, he did all the dives beautifully in the prelims. And he's climbed out of the cellar to be in 4th place.
Can he get on the podium?
Yes!
Yes!
Yes! I think he can. I don't know what he needs to be in the 3rd place, but that was a fabulous entry, flawless, if you will. And if he scores, oh, he's just going to miss it by less than a point on the podium.
91.2, so 450.90. Colin Zing, 451.4. Henschel just off.
Boy, what a close contest, and what a heroic last 3 dives by Tyler Henschel. And Juan Hernandez, defending champion and the record holder, comes back to win the competition, and it had some drama.
And a hug after the final dive from Tyler Henschel. Juan Hernandez is your champion for the 2nd consecutive year. Lazaroff again in second to Hernandez. They went 1-2 last year. Zing, the NCAA champion with Ohio State a couple of years ago, finishes third. Tyler Henschel, but for one failed dive, would have won the SEC title here in his home pool.
Yes.
But he had a great final 3 dives to get back into it.
Well, and it's a good lesson for Tyler. You know, he doesn't need to be that close to the platform to do a good dive. He can afford to jump out a little further and not hit his toes on the platform, because we've seen him do it beautifully without coming close before.
Yes, we have.